Today I'm going to show you how to assemble your new Bells of Steel reverse hammer. So the tools that you will need for this are a 14mm socket and box end, a 17mm box end, a 19mm box end, a 17mm socket, a 19mm socket, and a 1/4 inch Allen wrench. I'm going to give you 2 tips and tricks on assembling real quick. I'm going to go through this video and we're only going to put everything in loose. Do not tighten any bolts until everything is all the way assembled. This is a huge part of this assembly. Number 2 is watch your bolts really closely. So look at the manual and see how many bolts there are so you can see what number it is. There's a lot of bolts that are very similar in size and they all make a giant difference on putting it together. So you really have to watch your manual, check how many bolts there are, and they're very well individually bagged, so that will help you out a ton. But I will go through bolt by bolt, but please read the manual and pay really close attention how many bolts there are, and that'll really help to let you know where bolts go on the assembly. I went ahead and pre-assembled half of it nice and loose, just so you can see what it looks like as we're going. Once again, I'll name off each bolt as we go or do my very best. But I kept everything nice and loose, and I went ahead and half assembled so you can see it as we go. 2 big key things. 1, the wheels on the back piece go on the outside, and 2, on the center support piece, there's an extra support bracket. Make sure it goes towards the front, not on the inside. You don't want double brackets together, it will not fit. So we have these reinforcement pieces. Just make sure they go on the outside because we have reinforcement on the inside. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is gonna put this long support piece in. You're gonna use 4 bolt number 3s. There's 8 of these total, so this one should be pretty easy to spot in your bag. So go ahead and put them in and leave them nice and loose. Make sure this support bracket is on the outside. That's how you know your left from your right. Next, we're going to put in this middle adjuster piece. Make sure that all the holes are in the front. You're going to use bolt 4, which is a little bit longer than bolt 3. I already went ahead and put one on this side, and we'll put one on the other, and then the 2 fronts are also bolt 4 as well. Go ahead and put those in, and do not tighten down. Next, I'm going to put the slide rod in. So you have to put it through the front, and then you put the slider on. And then you just keep feeding. There is no front and back on the slider. It can go either way. So next we're going to put in the bolt for the end of the slider. This has a washer on it. There's also a washer for the feet, but it's a much bigger washer. So you'll know that it's a smaller washer and a 17. It looks like these bolts here, but these are 19s. Next we're going to attach the slider to the actual bracket. This is a 14mm bolt. Make sure you put the lock washer on first and then the regular washer second. This is a big upgrade for this model. These are longer bolts and they have lock washers. The other ones are a little shorter and they wanted to jiggle loose after a little while. So these should help out a ton. There's 3 on each side, so 6 total. You can put these on and tighten them down. Now we're gonna go ahead and put the leg pads on. I went ahead and just slid the top over and put it in a hole. Make sure that this piece right here is in the back so you can put the back plate on. So go ahead and slide your feet rest on. And then you got your really big washers go on this one with an Allen bolt. Take your 1/4 inch Allen and go ahead and tighten down. While you're here, go ahead and put your plastic adjusters in. You don't have to tighten them down, just gets an extra piece off your table. Next, we're gonna put the back plate on right here. There's only 2 of these bolts. This was a big issue on our last one. A lot of people were mixing these bolts up because of the directions. These are the only 2 that are packaged together and they come already assembled. So go ahead and grab that. Stick it through, then through the back. Washer, get your washer and nut on. Now we're gonna put on this main upright. It's the very short 19. There's 2 of these, there's short and long. Make sure you use the short ones. And then do not tighten these, leave them very loose. Now we're going to put the back step on. This is bolt number 1, and I find it best to have the threads going that way for this bolt. So the next one we're called the padding on the back piece. This is pretty self-explanatory. You just have the rest of the Allen bolts. There's a bunch of these ones in a bag, so you'll know the difference. There's 2 on the little pad. Make sure that the big overhang is on the front and the real thick piece is in the back here. Don't tighten any of them all the way down until you get all of them in. There is a lot of variance in the bolt holes, so it's pretty easy to put in, but make sure you don't tighten them until everything's in. Next, we're going to take bolt number 6, the same one that you used on the big feet down low. And it's going to go underneath here to tie the top pad and this piece together. So now, the fun part, we're going to put the handle on. You're going to use bolt number 2, which is the longest bolt. Make sure the handle goes upward. So you see on the side, you put it in the other way, it's going to face down. Make sure it faces up. Put it through the handle and then through the frame, and it's going to connect into the pad here. Now we're going to put the bearing on the swing part. Make sure the thicker part of the bearing goes on the outside. It's pretty easy. Now you're going to take bolt number 5, which looks a lot like the smaller ones that go for the feet. There's only 4 of these, so you shouldn't get it mixed up. They are a lot longer, which is nice because in the old version they were too short. It's just harder to get in, so we made them a little bit longer so it's easier for you. You're going to attach the swing bracket underneath where the bearings go. The biggest thing is make sure that these clips go to the outside, so they should face away from the plate. So one of the keys, I'm going to go ahead and just put the bearing in without the actual piece. It's a lot easier to maneuver. Get both bolts in really loose. So that way you can just slide your support piece in and you don't need 7 hands. Last but not least, go ahead and tighten everything in the center that we didn't tighten down when we were trying to put the big feet on. All right, so it's all put together now. Some of my big tips and tricks is 1, on all the center pieces, please leave them loose so there's some adjustability there. And 2, follow your bolt instructions very closely. Keep these. This is definitely a fun build. It's definitely one of my favorite pieces of equipment, but it's also one of the hardest to put together. This video should help tremendously, but also the instructions are pretty darn good on this. I tried to give you some tips and tricks as we went. We hope this video helped you out a lot. Please give yourself an hour, maybe an hour and a half to put this together, and you shouldn't have any problems with this video. I hope it helps.